Ciao a tutti and welcome to Venice Talks, a podcast series about Venice in Italy. My name is Monica Cesarato and I am a Venetian food and travel blogger. I'm going to put my insider knowledge at your disposal to help you discover Venice at 360 degrees. Each week, I will be chatting to the people who really matter, the Venetian. So follow me on the discovery of its artisans, writers, fashion designers, artists, glassmakers, bloggers, and much, much more. Come to visit Venice the right and sustainable way. You can find me on my blog www.monicacesarato.com and also on all social media. Enjoy the episode. Welcome back to Venice Talks, episode number 23. Hi everybody, welcome back to Venice Talks. Here we are with another episode, and today I'm very happy because I get to interview somebody very special. She's a writer and an artist, and it is Allison Zurfluh. Hi Allison, how are you?
Good morning, Monica. Very well, thanks for having me.
So let's first of all explain who you are.
Oh, who am I? Oh my gosh, I don't even know if I know who that is. Well, I'm Swiss. I'm Swiss nationality, born in Los Angeles, so American, Californian, let's say that. And I've been coming to Italy for over 10 years, and specifically Venice for around the same time. And I'm just very passionate about the north, about the Northern Lagoon and the conservation of what is still there.
So first of all, I want to know, because we've known each other for a while, but I don't actually really know your story so well. How did you fall in love with Venice? How did you end up getting so strongly connected, above all, with the island of Murano?
Well, I started coming with it was through different jobs. I was working in classical music at that time, and I was also writing a lot as a journalist. And I came to Venice the first time with a pianist, actually working on this project, and ended up just coming back, as I think Venice says to a lot of people. It just kind of, you just find reasons to keep coming back. You don't know why.
Longer and longer and longer.
Yeah, yes? It just kind of happens to you this way. It's a very strange city for this. And on some years went by, and I've made some beautiful friends who are still my friends today. And I was on a trip on a bragotto up in the north. And I had, by that time, I was staying a lot inside the city of Venice, where we usually go. No, it's the automatic go to Venice. And I had been invited aboard this traditional bragotto, which is a wooden fishing boat, ancient fishing boat, and was up in the far north. And it had descended. It was in February, and had descended this thick fog over the north. And of course, it was cold and icy, and everyone was down in the hull with the chef sort of keeping warm. And I was staying out up on the deck. And all I could see was these, the occasional bricola coming, sort of emerging from the fog and then passing by, emerging from the like clockwork, perfect Swiss clockwork. And as all you could see this, and I could see the very soft colors of the Barena passing by, and it was perfect silence and quiet. And I felt there was another journalist who came up out of the hull at this moment, and he said, "Oh, this is ridiculous. I can't see anything, and I'm
my God,
cold."
No way.
And he went back down. And I thought at that moment, well, he's crazy. I can finally see everything.
I know. It's just magic, isn't it?
It was. Yeah.
Yeah,
it was. I felt that I understood everything at that moment. It was so strange.
Yeah, I think it was kind of momentos that are just whoop, like a light on top of your head. It goes, okay, I'm in the right place.
Yes, that's right. And it was on that trip that night I met a family that owns a beautiful island up in the north, who is very dedicated to the ecosystem and conservation. And we hit it off, and I just started working with them. And that's how I discovered the Northern Lagoon. And spending a lot of time up there. And with time, I would come to Venice, drop my stuff off, go up to Murano, which is the starting point for the north. And then I would come back at like 11 p.m. And one day I wondered why I was even going back to Venice anymore. I didn't even want to go back. It was
Okay.
confusing. There were too many people. It was just not anymore where I wanted to be. And I moved up to Murano
Right. Okay.
and stayed up there. Now I've just recently bought a house. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
That's exciting.
yeah.
So, okay, when are you moving to Venice then? Sorry, to Burano, should say.
I have moved. I have
Oh, you
all of my
are.
stuff there. Yeah, I moved
Oh,
right before.
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Now, I
Mm.
got to say, it takes courage to move to Burano, not because of the island of the people, because I adore the people of Burano. I find them so refreshing compared sometimes to Venetians. Okay. But it is an island.
Yeah,
And, it's not an easy island to live on. So I got to say, you got totally, totally my utmost admiration for what you're doing. But at the same time, I envy you because Burano people are so nice. I love them. I think
they are. They
they're
are.
so
It's a different.
friendly.
It's the heartland. You know, it's the heartland. It's like Wisconsin and New York. You
Mm.
know, you go up there, and I mean, every now and then someone will say, one Buranello person will say to me, "Oh, you know, be careful. They're cattivi. They're mean up here." And then I say, well, what is the terrible mean thing that they did?
Yeah,
And they'll tell me, and inside me, I mean, I grew up
I love.
in Hollywood, in LA.
Yeah,
I'm just like,
yeah.
I'm almost, it just endears me to them. I think is if that's what's mean in your
Yeah.
book, then I'll take it.
I
You
know, I
know,
know.
that's fine.
I realized, I remember once a few times I was coming over and stuff, and I went into a shop because I just wanted a drink or something. So I just went into one of those little shops that sells drinks and stuff. And, usually in Venice, when you go to those kind of places, they just don't even take a look at you. You're one of 1,000 tourists and whatever. They don't really care. And the lady was so nice. We talked for about half an hour. And I said to her, how can you still be so nice, so friendly, and you have days in, days out, hordes of people coming in? And she just looked at me and said, no, but it's nice to have people around.
Yeah, no, it's true. They are. They have a huge tolerance for mass tourism. I mean, I think I get angrier than they do. For sure. No, that's for sure. No. They have a huge, and they're really, really positive people. They're
Mhm.
hard workers and hard players.
But
So they play and celebrate and love each other as every bit as hard as they work. I think they're a little bit Swiss, honestly, for
and
their
I've
hard work ethic.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
I think you also find probably yourself in tune with them because of the care that they take of the island and of the lagoon, of the surrounding lagoon. Is there another reason?
Well, they're very, after the flood of 2019, for example,
Okay, that's terrible.
it was horrific. As you remember, there was a big river flowing through Murano. I mean, it wasn't as bad as Palestrina, but I mean, it
Yeah.
was very close second. And
Hmm.
I went over to help, thinking I could actually be of help, and offered my
Hmm.
services, and it was very humbling for me to watch how of little help I actually was, how they actually taught me what it meant to take care of this situation. I mean, they were on it the minute that the waters went down. And by the time there were a lot of workers that went to Venice, volunteers and
Hmm.
people who were helping out. But when they came to Murano, the Brunelli just kind of sent them away, actually. And they're like, we got it. We got
Yeah,
it. We got it. And I obviously, granted, it's a smaller place,
yeah.
but they just roll their sleeves up and
Get
they
on with it.
celebrate and they help each other out, and there's a lot of community going on there, and I hope that it stays, because as in it is across the whole world, actually. All of our
Hmm.
smaller communities are in peril right now, but
Yeah.
I hope they can hold on to what they have. I do try to show them the beauty as much as I can, and
Hmm.
show and talk about what I see. And recently I was invited to present myself in this little newspaper called Il
Mm.
Ponte, which is the Buranello newspaper, par
Okay.
excellence.
Cool.
And so
Yes.
I wrote
The
it
go-
as
the gossip the gossip column.
not really. I
Yeah,
mean, it's
you
more
should.
like they
That's
even do like poetry in Buranello language, and
that's nice.
oh, it's
Okay.
super cute. You should look into it. And
Okay.
decided to write it as a love letter toward sort of a day in my eyes in Murano, and the very first comment I got was one person who isn't from Murano who said to me, "You're very naive, and you have it's not like this," and not from Murano. And every other comment I had from a real Brunello was, "You hit it right on the nail. Thank you for showing us again, showing us our own souls. Thank you." And I think a lot of us just need to see that. We need to see the value that we already have. We don't need to be, have, put down and have fingers pointed at us. It's not getting us anywhere. We already know our faults, so.
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes, people don't understand from outside that in Venice is a bit particular in these things, that never mind the island from island, within Venice itself, they don't talk to each other in a way, because if you're from Castello, you don't talk to people from Cannaregio. And I think it's so silly in a way. I mean, I met so many people that don't ever in their lifetime, and they're proud of it, they never moved from one sestiere to another. I ask for directions sometimes, thinking, oh, well, you're from around here, oh, I never go there, I don't know. And I'm thinking, it's like 500 meters from your house.
Yeah, I know. It's like, well, Monica, it's very interesting, because when I moved, I had a little rental, and I was actually a guest at some friend's house after the pandemic, which hit me really hard. And when I bought the house, I bought it, it's literally a 4.5 minute walk to the other house. Okay. And it's in the same area of Terranova. And it's really a short walk by anyone's standards. But in Murano, this is not a short walk. And I used to laugh, just like you are, at these people who were saying this, being from California and living in Chicago and Spain and Switzerland, everywhere else. It just seemed ridiculous. However, when I bought the house, the very last day, going back and forth with all my stuff, I was thinking, this is actually, the whole environment is different where I am now. It's not the same. The people are not the same. And I came walking back to the old house the last night, and all the neighbors were there, and they're like, "Oh God, how are you?" And I was like, "It's terrible. I'm not. You have to come. I'm moving to Africa. You have to come see me." And they did that, and they said, "We'll find you. Don't worry. It's not far for us." But it really feels like that. It does, and I can definitely see now where that comes from. I can.
Yeah, and also this rivalry there are between islands, between Murano, and God knows, I find it so funny sometimes when they have this little kind of competitions and stuff within themselves.
Well, when it's like in rowing, that's sweet. I think it's really
that's nice.
Loving.
Oh no, I like that. I like when it's come to proper competition. I like it. I just don't like it when it is about, oh no, he's from Murano, you don't want to talk to him.
I don't know. I think I haven't been around as long as you have to get into.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, it's a gossip within the gossip.
Yeah.
Anyway, one thing that I know you really, really care about is obviously environment. You are probably one of the people that I spoken all through the years that is probably above the lagoon of Venice. I really find that you're really, really, really so passionate about it, probably even more than Venetians themselves. So what would you say? I mean, first of all, let's try to say to people, at least I think, that they shouldn't just stay in Venice, and they should visit the rest of the lagoon in a responsible way. What do you think is a responsible way?
I mean, the question has gotten really complicated in Venice. And of course, every time I try and say what I think is responsible, I just can see the mirror staring right back at me. It's really a hard question to answer with any kind of humility and intelligence, because it's gotten so out of control. So if I answer the question, really, it's with heart and hand, because we all are contributing in a way to its demise, like we all are contributing to the demise of the world. But I think it's important to respect the law. And when I had the opportunity to have lunch with Richard Quest of CNN, and we were talking about sustainability, and I was putting my case to him about the lagoon. And, you know, I was putting it hard because I wanted help. I wanted him to talk about it. And he went at me. He pushed me and made me actually kind of angry, because I thought that he was not agreeing with me and that he thought it was a moot point. And so I went harder, and I kept pushing the envelope until I realized after half an hour, and by the time a half an hour had gone by, I really thought he was kind of rude. And until I realized that actually he was trying to help me, because he was trying to shave down all of my emotions out of the argument and just focus on, you know, the concrete way that what can we actually do, and take away my, you know, rage, maybe.
Your passion.
Which, and all of those things are just, they're superfluous, right?
It's like the Italian part of you. Let's
exactly say. Very Latin. Oh goodness. And so he says to me after all this time, when he can tell now that I'm really annoyed, and he looks at me and he says, "You know what, Allison, I've been working." Hello,
you're here.
Okay. He said he has been researching that for 30 years and reporting on it for 30 years. He said,
I know Richard Quest. Yeah. And he says, I really like him as a journalist.
Yeah, very serious guy. And he says, if everyone would just respect the rules in place, and this applies to everywhere, you would be astounded at how much of this mess would be already cleaned up. And I went back and I thought about that. He said, tell me, what are the rules in place? You know, and if you think about it, the rules are in place to protect the lagoon.
Absolutely.
But they're not respected. They're not. And, you know, and I can sit here and tell you what I think and who is the culprit and all of that. The fact of the matter is, we all are disrespecting one rule or another. There are some people who are really disrespecting terribly the rules, and others who are just slightly disrespecting those. However, we all have to know what the rules are before we step foot inside such a delicate and such a unique environment as the Venice Lagoon. And if you want to visit the Venice Lagoon, you better read up and find out what are the rules and what are the issues at hand, and how can you come to Venice in a respectful and loving way. Because the city has been a tourist place for decades, for centuries. It's always welcomed travelers. Yeah,
of course.
So it's not like Venice should stop having now travelers. Venice needs to have travelers who are informed and who are willing to sacrifice their own wishes for the good of the lagoon. Do you know, there's things I stopped doing that I want to do that I don't do because it's not right. Because it will somehow damage, or you know, there's a beautiful little barena I love, and there's a part of the year where if you go, it's a proper nesting barena. So you have all of the kokai and nesting there, the real native kokai, so which are very small seabirds, kind of seagulls. And if you go there during these months of the year, that's when they're nesting. The mother seagulls will not come down and feed their babies. And so, and the babies need to be fed every hour or more. So I might say, okay, I'm just going to go for a couple of hours. Well, then another person might go a couple of hours. And, you know, every year we find them all dead, you know, 6, 7 kokai dead, junior birds. And you think, okay, I can just not go. I cannot go. And if I don't go, then they will be fed. So I don't get to see it. I don't get to put it off my bucket list. I don't get to take that picture I wanted.
I hate that word, bucket list. I start really hating that word. I really do like.
That's right. I don't get that shot I wanted, or I don't get to do that. But that continues. We get to keep having that in our world. That's the direct consequence. You know?
I totally so agree with you. I keep saying I'm with you on this 100%. I keep saying this is everybody's contributing in a way, one way or another. Like, even if it's just sleeping instead of an hotel, you sleep in an Airbnb because you think, well, it's cheaper, I can afford it that way. Well, but at the same time, you are causing problem for the city of Venice and so on. Totally with you. And about researching, I keep saying this to everybody. I think we lost, I think the best part of a journey should be the research, shouldn't it? Before you go. And I think we all lost that. And everybody now comes to Venice because you have to. I got to say, unfortunately, many influencer bloggers and come to Venice when they got nothing else to write about. Oh, let's go into Venice, do some quick videos, and it always looks good anyway, doesn't it? It's a bit sad.
Well, and how many people don't know that there's no cars in Venice? I mean, I've heard this from tourists so many times.
Oh gosh.
Well, how I actually heard some tourists in the Vaporetto say, how do they drain the water out of the canals at night?
I know, but wait, and somebody asked once during a tour, asked me, oh, where did all the cars go when the city flooded? But she didn't mean the flood of 2019. She meant when Venice became a city of water. So we're talking about...
It's okay to have questions that are silly sometimes, but if you're not it just shows that there's no basic information. And that's what's alarming.
I know.
It's not like, a silly question. We've all asked it, but if the basic of the city, the most important and most unique thing of a city, you don't know it. You don't really have any business going in our day and age when you can Google it in a second.
I know. Exactly. That's what I keep saying. Research is not like in the old days where you had to go and find books. Now, within 2 seconds on your phone, you got all the info you need. Come on. There is no excuse. Totally with you with this. Now, but first and foremost, you are an artist and a writer. Do you want to talk about your art first or about your book?
Well, I mean, I was a writer first. I used to paint, obviously, and I became. My first book was about opera. So I wrote a book about cavalli. Well, not really. It's not a book about cavalli. It's a book because I'm not a musicologist. It's a book about how an ancient manuscript goes from being on the shelves of the Murano library. And goes to being a stage production at the premier festival, the United States Festival, which is Spoleto Festival.
Wow.
How does that happen? And so I followed the process. I was able to follow these great people in Italian opera and just be part of their experience for a year and see them, Erin Cautfene, who he took out the manuscript and made a stage score, and then we saw the costumes, the sets, all of that sort of grow and become. And then I was in Spoleto with them and was assisting with I was attending all of the rehearsals and meeting the orchestra and going backstage, and it was really exciting. It was one of the most exciting things I think I've done in my life.
I can imagine.
And so I just basically reported.
Isn't it like seeing a baby being born and when he grows?
Yes, it is. And so I got to really be a part of that. And it was a really unique part of Italy, which Italian opera, which was just exclusive for me. And I'm ever grateful to all of the people who allowed me to be a part of that. And that's called the Veramonda Resurrection. And the other book is a children's book called Leah Leaves the Library.
It's a great book.
Thanks. It's also about the Murano Library. I have a little addiction to that library. And it's about a girl who was actually a story. She was a book, and she didn't want to be a story. She lived in the Murano Library, and she saw the lagoon outside the window. And through different circumstances, she was brought out to the door of the library. She fell in a puddle, and the wind came in, and all of her letters and periods and question marks and everything fell to the floor, and she became a little girl. She scooped all these up, stuffed them in her pocket, and off she went into the world. And she sort of discovers Venice as a girl, a Venetian child would, and different facets, the religious, the political, and very dreamy. And she comes to find her home. Cool. And it's sort of an exploration of Venice. The artist is my niece, who I used to tell stories to when she was a little girl. So that was a lot of fun.
I didn't know this. That's so cool. nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you become Italian. Keep it in the home.
Definitely keep it all, infect everybody.
Yeah, keep it all in the house, as I say. Okay, that's
See,
cool.
yeah.
But I mean, I think it's a great way to get children approach to Venice as well, isn't it? I mean, it's a children's book, but it must be lovely for adults to read it with children, I think, because you
Um,
get to learn. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we've had good. I've been really blessed to have a lot of good feedback on that. But I think it's important I'm a mom of four, so all the books that I used to read to my kids, most of them had an impact on me. So specifically one, it's called The Friend. If ever you have an opportunity to read that, it's called The Friend. The translator is Fen Troller. I don't remember the name of the writer because I reached out to this translator to translate my book as well. And it's really beautiful. So, I know what it means to parents to have a book that you're actually not falling asleep while you're reading it,
Yeah. Yeah, I read Thomas the Tank to my boys. Oh my God. And I got to say, I learned English like that.
Yes. Oh, it's a great way
Because,
to learn English.
well, because, Thomas the Tank is written quite well. I mean, it's simple, but it's written quite well. So I remember, and I used to do all the voices and everything, and that helped me a lot. And
Yeah.
I think I always say to, sometimes I have on tours and things like that, people say to me, oh, I'm learning Italian. What should I do? Children's book. Get yourself a
Yeah,
children's book. It's the
that's true.
best because you learn like a child, and then you
Mhm.
can progress.
Yeah, that's a great recommendation, actually. I didn't think
And
about that.
it's but obviously for children as well, but for
Yeah, no,
adults,
but
I
it's
think
great.
it's great. So have you got any other book coming up, or are you working on something?
Yes, there's the sequel to Leah that's in the wings. It hasn't been announced, but when it is, I'll let you
Oh,
know.
okay.
But
So we got
it's sequel to Leah. Mhm.
okay, cool, nice. I'm happy
And as
about
you
this.
know, I'm painting a lot. So I'm
I know.
an oil painter and a watercolor painter. And I had my first exhibit at Venice Wine Resort this year, actually, March 2022. I was very, very excited about that because they
Yeah.
also believe in lagoon sustainability and
Yes,
local
they do.
culture.
They
And
do.
yeah.
But you actually found the perfect place to take to do what you're doing as an artist. My dad is a painter. I mean, he hasn't painted for a while, but all over the house I have paintings. And whenever I used to go to Fusina, Malcontenta, and then he used to come to the Barena as well to take to do his paintings and stuff. And I think Venice has inspired so many people with its
Yeah.
landscape because it's so unique, isn't it? And the light is different every
It's
single day.
very special. Yeah, there's something very unique about it. And I think it calls, like I said, like that journalist, it didn't mean anything to him. This journalist who I brought there, he also we showed him beautiful things all across the lagoon on another trip, and he ended up doing just carnival masks.
Oh
So,
God.
so you know what? A lot of people just don't get it either. You can be a mountain person. So if you're, I don't get the Alps.
No, come on.
But I get
What do you
the
mean you
lagoon.
don't get the Alps?
No,
You lived in
no,
Switzerland and you
no,
didn't get the Alps?
I don't get it. It's not against Switzerland. I love that country. I love it, but I don't get high mountains. It's not for me at all.
Okay.
No, 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 no. But it's true. And you know what else? It's curious what you say about it being inspiring. The Brunello fishermen, I've noticed I really am close to that community in Murano.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the community I'm connected most with. And
Mm-hmm.
they are super artistic. You can tell that they are inspired by the place that they live. They're as hardy and
Yeah.
hardworking and manly that they are. They're also super gentle and artistic and sensitive to color and light and beauty.
Yes.
And I have
Yeah.
met some artists that have never had exhibits done where I'm just blowing my mind. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not a painter. No, I'm not. When you see what they do,
and they're amazing.
self-taught.
I know.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I know. Yeah, I think it's lights. I think it's the algae in the water, the buildings, I don't know. It is something between Venice, all of the lagoon, but Venice itself, it is so different. You have a certain nuances of gold, of red, of green. This just doesn't happen in other places. I mean, some days I'm walking around and the sky is just literally, you have no clouds. It's crispy. You can feel it. The colors are so vivid.
Yeah,
you don't
true.
get it. I never seen in another city, in other locations,
I can only say the only place I've ever seen a sunset, but of course it's not like Venice, but the most beautiful sunsets I've seen otherwise are on the Pacific coast.
Okay.
Growing up, but it's not the same. It's not as sweet. It's the sea. It's the ocean. It's strong. It's powerful. It's and the blue of the sea is much flatter. It's much it's not as deep and liquid as the the lagoon is.
Liquid. That's what it is. All the colors is like they're liquid. That's what it is. I know. I don't know. It's must be. Boy, obviously the whole configuration. Well, it's got its own microclimate. After all, the Lagoon of Venice is, I always say to people when they say, oh, is it going to rain or is it going to be sunny? Oh, you don't know in Venice. Don't even bother to look at the forecast because it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
And I live outside of Venice and it could be raining here. And literally I do 5 kilometers and all of a sudden it's as bright as, or here is bright. I go up to Venice and it's like a wall of fog.
Yes, definitely. It changes so fast. I mean, I think I'm go ahead.
Sorry. And during the day as well, so many times, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, and I'm painting out in the lagoon a lot in my boat or on different islands and things, and it drops. Like the fog can just drop. Especially, I'll be spending 6 weeks up at Santa Cristina painting in January. And out there in January it's survival. I mean, and you can be out I can be out painting and suddenly, I mean, you can feel it starting. And I've learned if you don't turn for home immediately, I mean, that fog rolls up and drops and there you are, and that's been exciting in a way to learn personally about survival in this water environment from the fishermen. It's been a hard school. I mean, it's not as only romantic as my photos show, but it's really rewarding because you also learn a skill if you survive. But there's something about being in Venice, especially if you're really living there, being very sensitive to the weather and not only your application.
Yes,
it's sensitive by your eyes and your senses. So when the fog falls and I'm out in my boat, and this has happened, and if I'm near the marina, okay, but if you're in the middle of a palude, forget it.
Of course.
You don't see anything. And
of course.
So I've learned through the fishermen and their advice, of course, is you turn off your motor and you stop.
No matter what you're doing.
No matter what, caigo means qui mi lego. Here I tie up.
I didn't know this. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay, I didn't know this one. Okay. All right.
And so you tie up where you are. That's what it means. Here it comes. Better tie up. There's nothing else to do but stop and tie.
Oh wow. Okay.
Then you think what to do. Don't rush. And so this is now finally, after all these years, starting to get part of my reaction. It takes years before it becomes your instinct.
Yeah.
And if you look down at the water and without your application, what the tides are doing today.
Yeah.
Then okay, it's 2:00. The tides are running that way. The tides are running out at 2:00. So that's Murano in that direction.
Okay. Right.
You have to know where you are. You have to know all of this. If, however, right now it's 10 a.m. tides are going up. So actually Murano is the other way. So you have to look down at the water. You have to hear the birds. How far are you from land? You can smell and feel on your tongue how thick is the fog. Is it going to lift? Is it not going to lift? You can see with the lights. it's just all about becoming a little bit an animal, you know.
Yeah.
And
Forgetting about the phone and technology. You need to go to primordial again.
You do. That's right.
Yeah.
You do. And you have to know how to get home without a motor.
Yeah, of course. Well, as I
it.
used to do. I mean, I think nowadays we rely so much on the radar, the boats that go radars and stuff like that. But back in the old days, they didn't have everything, the technology we have.
Yeah.
They just had to go, and they always, generally, more or less, made it back home. So, yeah, it's... Oh wow! I didn't even think about this. I'm a terra firma girl. I'm a countryside girl,
and I'm always like, no, terra firma.
The first time I've actually gone on a boat was about must have been 2008 when my first blog post. It was about going on a boat. It was with Nan from Venice. That I've interviewed, and the episode should be, by the time this episode goes out, it would have been out already. And it was such an experience for me. I was terrified. I mean, I'm okay now on boats and everything, but the first time, oh my God, I was like, oh, is this bringing me back to water? And I'm still, let's say, I'm okay on boats, but I'm still not 100%. I still get very scared when they go really fast. I always think I'm gonna jump out of, being thrown out of the boats and stuff. It's so funny, but I find it, for me, it's always fascinating when I see, the Venetian people on boats, the way they go around. It's like the hand. The boat belongs to the hand. They know exactly what the boat is doing. And it's not the same as driving a car. I'm sorry. It's just not the same. It's like an extension of a body. It surprises me, because I'm looking at you and thinking, you're not gonna get through that. You're not gonna go through that. And they do. You do that. Both, whatever it is, a motor or rowing boats, the same. It just amazes me. It really does. So I can just imagine for you living surrounded by boats. Do you have your own boat then now?
Yes. And I go as far away as I can. I mean, I go up in the north. I'm alone in the middle of nowhere most of the time, Monica. So
you're always telling somebody where you're going. Well, I hope so. Just in case I read on the news, American woman lost at sea. Just in case.
The boys now know more or less where I usually go.
Okay.
And so
come and look for you there.
But if I don't show up like at 5:30 at cocktail hour,
cocktail hour. Okay.
For una ombra.
Okay. All right. Something's happened to Allison. Let's go and get her.
And if I'm going, this summer I spent a lot of time going into really remote and new places. I just wanted to be. I spent, I think, most of my time alone painting up in the wilds this summer, and I did kind of let someone know, but it was something. There's two things that stay with me. One is the Italian phrase "mi raccomando."
Okay, of course.
Which is, of course, one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard in my life. If you see an Italian look at you and say that, I mean, you've just had one of the most beautiful experiences of your life as a foreigner, because that means something. And the other thing is, at the beginning, when I first had my boat, and I was not going far at all, and I remember saying to one of my dear friends, who's a fisherman, and I said, what happens if I can't get back? What happens if it rains? How will you find me? And he looked at me and he said, the lagoon is big for you. And if you get caught out in the rain, you will hate it. You will hate the lagoon after that. But the lagoon is small to me. I'll find you. He said, I'll find you.
So nice.
And it stayed with me. And now I never call. I mean, I called one time, I think, for help. And it was because I had stayed out too late and fallen asleep, and it was dark, and I shouldn't have. And now I go all the time in the dark. It's not a problem, but I had cold ones, and I just try not to, because I want to. But you know how many times I've gotten in trouble. Once I got caught out in that, I don't know if you remember that tromba d'aria that passed over last year.
Yeah. Oh,
and it passed over Murano, and it it blew the window out of my door and everything. I was out in the lagoon painting alone on a barena when that happened. And I was painting and I saw that beautiful translucent green sort of start to paint the horizon on the water. And I was like, oh, I love that green. And I
Yeah.
knew that green means storm, but I didn't put it together because there was sun in the sky.
Yeah, of
And
course.
I took a picture at that moment. And after it happened, I looked and there actually was a darkening under the cloud, a few of the clouds,
Oh, okay.
and I wasn't yet paying attention. You see, you have to be an
Yeah,
animal.
yeah.
And I kept painting it. And then suddenly I felt some raindrops. I thought, this is absurd. There's sun. And I just barely had time to throw my stuff in the boat
Wow.
and get buttoned up. And that thing slammed. It went right over me. And my boat was just slamming. I had just a small pull in the mud. I had a little tiny like stick. I put it in on the other side, and I tied up as best I could. And then I just hung on for dear
Yeah.
life.
And hoped for the best. Wow.
Oh yeah. And when I got
Gosh.
back, I was kind of shaken up. But when I went back, I had to survey all the damages in the house and everything.
Of course.
And people asked, like, how did you do? Oh my goodness. And I told the story, and they were, most people were like, oh, you're so brave, you're so great. And my friend who's a fisherman, he comes over and
become Murano person.
yeah, but wait. So the real hardcore fishermen who are my dear friends came and said, so after 2 days, he was like, you didn't do anything right. And I said, what? He's like, you did it all wrong. And he was super mad.
So worried for you.
I said, yeah, but I'm back. I'm safe. I'm here. And he's like, you were an idiot. You should have, when you saw the green, you should have thrown everything, left everything on the Burnett, hiked over to Santa Cristina and tied up in the Darsener. You knew what kind of weather it was. You have to use your nose. You have to use your head. You'll be killed.
Wow.
He was so mad at me.
Of
and
course.
These lessons, have taught me actually that I'm responsible not only for my 4 kids and my friends and my job and this and that. I'm actually also responsible for myself.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but yeah, you should be responsible for yourself first, shouldn't you?
Right. And this has been a wonderful experience in self-awareness and self-valuing.
Wow. But it's interesting how also how he took it, he could have just say, oh, okay, I'm lucky, you got lucky, whatever. But it's nice that he actually went rough on you, I think.
Ooh, yeah. And I wrote something about it. One of the artworks, I have to look up the title, but I wrote about that experience. I think it's out. I Know What Green Means. If you look, one of my artworks is called I Know What Green Means. And that is the artwork. A friend of mine actually bought that one. And there's a story under it. And you can see it's about that. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So I'm pretty sure soon I'm gonna read that Allison got lost somewhere in the and I'll write a book about it, the crazy American that got lost.
Oh yeah, I have stories. I've been writing a lot of stories.
See, that should be your next book then.
Yeah,
it should be life as an American in Murano. That's what it should be.
Well, I don't consider myself American. I consider myself Californian and Swiss.
But can I just say, you should consider yourself Murano. Buranella.
Definitely.
That's it. Because to be honest with you, you start getting an accent as well.
Yeah, they say I have a nice round R.
You do. I was listening to you at the beginning. I thought, California, really? Seriously?
California,
yeah.
I know. And if I'm there with them, it gets really thick,
Oh, yeah. And you actually start to speak Murano dialect as well, do you?
I mean, I definitely understand when they're speaking it, unless they don't want me to understand, and then I don't understand anything. That's sure. They can do that. But for the most part, I get it, and then I can say some words. But I always feel I was so respectful toward dialects that I feel like I'm silly if I'm speaking them. But of course, they love if I do. So every now and then, I let out some dialect. Just to keep the party going.
Of course. So, Allison, where do people can find you on social medias?
So I'm Allison Zurfluh, or the account that I use the most these days is Allison Zurfluh _artist.
Okay. And you got a website where they can find you?
It's also AllisonZurfluhartist.ch. CH for
Fantastic.
Switzerland. Yeah.
Okay. You're going to find all these things anyway when I put them on the podcast and everything. Allison, thank you so much for this talk. I loved it. And I want to ride on your boat since, I'm writing the book on the islands. I'm writing this book on the islands and I want a ride on the boat. Okay. I've already managed to grab some free rides from other people now, because how can I write a book on the islands of Venice and not actually going out, right?
Yeah.
As a terrafermista.
I decline all responsibility in case of fog or storms.
No, darn. I've got to end the book over in January, so it's gonna have to be in the cold somehow. But we go on a nice crispy day that we know for sure there's not gonna be any kind of snow or fog or storm or of any kind, and definitely not high water. Definitely not aqua.
Perfect. Well, actually, yeah.
No, I can't get on the boat otherwise.
No, it's better. No, high water is not a problem. Low water is the problem.
Oh, is it? Well, that's February, isn't it? June, generally, isn't it?
No, the low water problems. February, March, even last year went quite into April.
Yeah.
Okay. This is more difficult actually, because I'm not in Venice. I'm in the north, so it's
of course.
There's even less canal.
Oh, of course.
And just to say, I might be more schooled up in the north, but I'm definitely not schooled like these amazing women who are driving their boats through the Venice canals. I mean that.
Oh no, but I don't want to ride. I don't want to ride in Venice. I want to ride in
them.
I mean, not writing a book on Venice.
But kudos to those girls, because you got gondolas and taxis and everything in there. Yeah,
no. It's another world.
Respect.
So, Allison, thank you so much for the chat. It was so nice talking to you, and I hope to see you soon as well. Okay.
Thank you, Monica, for having me, and have a good day. See you soon.
Ciao.
Bye, Monica. Ciao.
Thank you so much, Allison, for the lovely chat. You can find Allison at www.allisonzurfluh.ch and on all social medias as Allison Zurfluh. Thank you again for listening. If you want to book a food tour or a cooking experience with me, you can find me on my blog www.monicacesarato.com or at cookingvenice.com, and also on all social medias with the handle at Monica Cesarato and at cookingvenice. Feel free to leave a comment or write to info@monicacesarato.com for more information about the people featured in the podcast or Venice. Bye bye!